Hey, what's up guys? BJ Dell back with a new Monday Let's Draw video. Today's video is a viewer request about how to draw cartoon bodies. So if you want to learn from start to finish how to draw a cartoon complete with head, body, hands, and feet, keep watching. All right, so let's jump into it. Like I said, this video today is how to draw cartoon characters, bodies, full figure characters. This is just going to be one single example. Honestly, how to draw cartoon characters and the bodies and the heads and everything else is going to be a really kind of massive undertaking. It's not going to be well suited for these little, 25, 30-minute videos on YouTube. It's going to be more of like a masterclass type of thing that I definitely will look into doing. So we'll just talk about one specific example today and then kind of, some of the design stuff you need to think about when creating cartoon characters. So today's, I think I'm gonna draw kind of something dynamic here. So let's draw like a girl, maybe singing. So the thing to really concentrate and think about as you're drawing characters, and especially dynamic shapes and characters, is you really want to use what's called the silhouette rule. So to get a nice dynamic shape, you want to make sure that if you would totally fill in the character that you're drawing in a silhouette so it's completely black, you're not going to have any overlapping parts. Meaning, let's say I've got an arm coming here. You're not going to want this arm to come here. Because if you would fill this in completely black, you wouldn't be able to see that arm. You want that nice standout shape that's going to look good in a silhouette form, even if you're not making it a silhouette. That's what's going to give you a nice dynamic look. So for this, you can see I've got a lot of curves here for the body. I'm just basically going in and mapping everything out. I've got the head up here, the center line coming down that then wraps around down to the body. I'm going to have the legs kind of kicked out here to where she's really kind of belting out a song. I'm going to have her like in a jumper type of dress outfit thing. That might look kind of cool. I'm just going to block in where the arms go. These are going to be kind of just thrown out to the side. Shrink this down a little bit so I got some more room to play with here. And for a perspective way of looking at this, she's going to kind of be more in the foreground here, so everything's going to kind of have a nice perspective shift to the back here. So meaning, this stuff on this side is going to be a little bit larger, and this stuff here is going to be smaller, and it's going to have that curve to it. We want to kind of follow along there. Let's go ahead and put big mouth here, like she's just really belting something out. This is one of the things too, like I love cartooning so much, just because you don't really have to worry about, making everything perfect. With anatomy, you can go super big and super bold with design choices, and kind of like with this mouth, obviously, it's going to be pretty oversized, but it's going to give that really good read that, she's really into this song that she's singing. The same thing with the eyes here. When I was talking about the perspective, you're going to have this left one be quite a bit larger than this right one. This right one's going to kind of hide behind where I'm going to throw the nose down here. And once again, with cartoons, you could go through and do a head shape here, and okay, the eye line is so many inches down from the nose line, which is so many inches down from the mouth line, and then your ears are here, which in certain cases for cartooning, that's fine, but doing something like this, it's more of just going for that over the top look. So I'm not really worried as much about making everything perfect. with anatomy, it's not a realistic drawing by any means, and I'm just going for the over the top look here. Some eyebrows here. And pull her neck down in here, and then start to do these kind of buckle things that come over the top here. Those patch or pockets here in the front. You can see I'm just doing stuff really rough right now. I'm not really worried too much about getting everything, oops, perfect in there. I think I'll put like a shirt underneath her here. And these arms coming out. Hands in here. I've done a previous tutorial on hands too, so if you aren't comfortable doing hands and not really sure how those should look, I've got a complete hands tutorial on one of the Let's Draws, so make sure you check those out. Same thing with this hand then, since it's farther away, it's going to be, you know, a little bit smaller here. Looks pretty good. I think with her legs, I'm going to clean those up a little bit. I think I'm going to have tights on her. Some straight tights coming down. Now, when you draw kids' bodies too, you really want to make sure that everything is a lot more, I guess, compact, almost like stubby compared to an adult's body. Everything's going to be a lot just a lot more smushed, I guess. Like I said, I'm just putting this in here pretty quick. I don't really care if it's perfect right now. I'll go back in once I go in here and start actually, you know, doing some outlining and stuff to make it look perfect. Scoot this down a little bit. So we've got room for the hair here. Looks pretty good there. I'm going to throw out some music notes in here once we're done. So, okay, I'm going to go ahead and drop the opacity on this down now so I can start doing my lines. And once again, in case you don't know, I'm using the iPad Pro 12.9-inch first-gen model with Procreate, but of course you can follow along with anything else you got. This is just the basics of, you know, doing body shapes. So if you're doing traditional, you can follow along as well. Of course, the whole coloring and outlining is going to be a little bit different than what you would do with traditional, but gives you the basic ideas. I know a lot of people still ask me too about line weight, and they can't get their lines to look right. And honestly, the best advice that I can give is just getting that nice smooth line. Just it's a, I don't know, just a all-in-one stroke that you got to really kind of work at. And as you're, you know, going along with the stroke, just let your hand and your wrist do most of the work as it pulls along. Don't think about it too much. You can always, like I do, just go back and erase, undo. The most important part with it is as you go along, just make sure that you are varying your pressure. So if you need a harder, thicker line starting out, just do, a harder press, and then as you go, lightly pull up. And it'll be something that you'll get pretty good at eventually, to where you're not really going to think about it. Your hand's just going to kind of automatically do it. So just stick with it and keep practicing. It'll get better, I promise. Those eyebrows in there. Once again, like with cartoons, you can do cool stuff like this eyebrows going above the hairline, which obviously would not be something that happens in real life, but you can get away with cool little touches like that when you're doing cartoons. Like I said before, I love cartooning. Doing realistic stuff. I mean, it's fun, but it takes so long, and you beat yourself up if it doesn't look right, and you've got to really make sure everything is proportionate and realistic. And I just like the freedom that cartooning gives you. And you can see I'm busting this out pretty quick, and if I was trying to do a realistic version of this, it would take quite a while. I just like the freedom and speed that you get from cartooning. But like I said, I'll probably do a full-on tutorial course on, how to draw bodies and the differences between, different body types. Definitely kids are going to be a lot different. Like I said, everything's smushed down. Plus the shapes of how you do a kid's head is a lot different too. There's a lot more forehead on a kid to kind of show the reader, so it reads, or the viewer, so it reads a lot younger. If you have more forehead there, that works a lot better. So I'll probably go in and talk about that as well. Another thing too, like as you're going along, I mean, your lines do not have to be perfect by any means. You can have some messy lines and not have everything connected, and just have like a looser feel. Like this one I'm going pretty quick on, a lot quicker than some of the previous videos that I've done, just because this is a little bit more, I guess, detailed, labor intensive of a design. So I want to make sure that I can still keep this in the time frame that you guys are kind of used to seeing on the channel. Don't want it to drag on for too long. And you'll see too that once you add in, colors and highlights and shadows and stuff like that, can kind of take away the attention too if your lines just aren't absolutely perfect. They don't have to be, 100% all the time. So you kind of see that here shortly as well. And this one I'm just doing the 3-finger cartoon hand on, which I talked about in the hand drawing Let's Draw video. So many different ways to do hands too. Just kind of experiment with that and see what fits best for the design. Obviously kind of like a fatter cartoony hand like this looks good for her, but probably wouldn't work as well for like an adult woman, or if you're doing like a skinnier male character or something like that. So you really got to kind of pick and choose what works best for the design. You won't do the same type of hand every single time. There we go. And you'll see too, I'm taking a little bit of liberties with the legs. They don't have a lot of shape to them. They're pretty much just straight down, which once again is something you can get away with in cartoons. Usually, I'd have it come down with the knee and stuff like that, but I wanted more of a plain basic shape, especially with the tights. I didn't want a lot of detail in there, so it's kind of why I made that design choice there. Hopefully I can get this done before my battery runs out. Buckle in here. Get these shoes to kind of look the same from the left and the right. Enough. All right, pretty decent. So let's go ahead and turn off the sketch layer there. I'm going to go ahead and add a new layer, drop this underneath the layer 2, and then set this top one to reference, which is going to allow me to drop in colors on this layer 3. And I've got a broken line there. That's why it's not filling in right. So I'm going to go back up here and fill that in there. All right. Try this again. Like I've said before too, if you guys struggle with speed and stuff like that, these videos that I do are really quick. And honestly, if this was a design that I would do for myself or for a client, I would take a lot longer than what I'm doing this as today. So that's another thing too. Don't beat yourself up if you can't knock a design out in a short amount of time. I usually take quite a bit longer than this. So give her some blonde hair here. Once again, a broken line. I went a little too quick with the lines, so they're not connecting. There we go. I think that should be good for the rest. I got to finish this part in here too. And I drew that on the wrong layer, so let's get it back. Okay, there we go. Just gotta do this freehand here because I don't have the sketch layer on there, so take me a couple times to get it right. Yeah, close enough. And then for the eyebrows, I'm going to go in with a little bit darker of a yellow just so it stands out from the hair, since that one's completely on top of the hair. If I went too close to that same color, you wouldn't really be able to see it except for the lines. So erase it here. Get those. Oops. Kick back. I saw the yellow on there hit the lines. I don't know if you could see that on the video or not, but if you go in and do the drag and drop fill with Procreate, and if you miss the section, sometimes it'll actually hit the lines. You won't see it right off, but if you zoom in a little bit closer, you'll see the lines are going to be outlined in that color, and you want to make sure that that doesn't happen. There we go. Teeth in here. The mouth. The jumper, I'm going to make that kind of like a denim. Do some red and white stripes on the leggings here, or the tights. I'm not sure. I know that first one I didn't have the line all the way through. I think that one's okay, yeah. I think that one needs another line in there. Too much. There we go. I think I'll make the shirt that same red then. There we go. And this here, I'm probably going to pull this line up so that shirt comes around here. It looks a little bit more, I wouldn't say realistic, but like it should, I guess. There's some stuff, even with cartoons, you still need it to do. And with the way that that drops, you would actually see the inside of that. So I want to be able to show that as well. Looks good. Let's get the shoes. Just do a nice brown color for those. And we should be pretty close to done with the colors. Oops. There we go. And I think I'm going to hit the inside of the shoe here with the red for the leggings. All right, so that's pretty much it for the colors and the outline. So we can go ahead and start doing the shadows now. I think I'm going to have the shadows on this far right, so we've got the light source coming in from this top direction here. Just going to go in and start filling in with this heavy black. If you've watched my videos before, then pretty much familiar with the way that I shadow, but I go on a separate layer, go in with a heavy black, and then just drop the opacity once I've got a decent amount done, and kind of play with that and see what it looks like. So go up here to adjustments, drop the opacity down until I get it to look pretty good. And right there, and then go back in on some of these outside lines and erase the shadow just so it's not too close to the same black color. Design trick, makes it stand out, especially if you're doing it on a darker background. Basically what I'm doing is just hitting all these far right hand areas that the light source would be casting the shadows on. I've talked about adding shadows before in videos too, so if you have problems with that, honestly, just grab something like a piece of fruit or, you know, an object that's got a pretty good shape, and get a lamp and just play around with how close it is to the lamp, the distance, and the angles that the lamp hits it. If you want to get out your cell phone and take a picture of it as you're doing it to kind of look at later, and just kind of flip back and forth between different pictures so you can see the changes that you know, the direction of the light source makes. If you want to see the difference in the distance between the item and the light source, that's a good tool to use and kind of help you understand shadows and highlights a little bit better. And I'm not sure doing the more detailed stuff on, you know, cartoon bodies and the whole nine. I don't know, like I said, if YouTube's really going to be the place for that. It's going to be, you know, an extended series. It won't be one video, so I'm really thinking about possibly looking into doing like a Skillshare or Udemy course for that. So let me know what you guys think, if you guys use any of those platforms, what you prefer. I know it seems like those are the two big ones that everybody goes with. I've never made any content for them, so I don't know, you know, really what would be the best for that. But I really think with all the different, you know, body shapes and types and how kind of detailed that's going to be, it's honestly going to be a few hours worth of content, and I think it would be easy to break it up on some place like that. I have looked into them, and I know, especially like Udemy, they've got almost like chapters that you can do, and they have, you know, each of them has a separate runtime, and you can break them down a little bit better. But just curious what you guys prefer. Stomach's growling. It's about time for lunch. I'm going to finish this up here pretty quick. I'm not going to go full, well, number one, because my iPad's about ready to die, but I'm not going to go full shadows and highlights on this one like I usually would, just because I want to keep it a little bit simpler. Plus, like I said too, with this one being a little bit more involved, don't want to have the video run too long. This one was more than anything just a, you know, a video on doing body shapes and how to make a complete design with a full body cartoon figure. I'm sure you guys have seen a lot of the highlights and shadows before in some of my videos if you've been to the channel before. So it's the other thing too with doing a cartoon human figure. It seems like there's a lot more as far as the shadows and stuff that you can do. So let me throw in some color into these buttons here, or snaps, or what have you. Let's just do some real quick highlights and we shall be done. One thing I've talked about before with highlights too is a lot of times you'll need multiple highlight layers, just because like on this yellow, that yellow highlight's going to look a lot different on there than it is like on this red. I'm going to keep them all the same for now, but you can get a little bit more variation and it's not going to look as bright if you use multiple highlight layers and then adjust the opacity separately for each of them. It's going to give you a little bit better control over the highlights, because see here on the hand now, they look really light. And last but not least, I'm going to throw some freckles in there real quick. I always like freckles on kid designs. It just kind of adds a little extra cuteness factor to it. Since I put those freckles in there, I'm going to erase that one highlight right there. It looks a little weird. And do one more shadow for the eyes. Kind of builds out the eyes a little bit. I do these separate too, with the shadows on the eyes, just because that white's going to be so light compared to the other shadows or the other colors. You don't want to get it too light, or too dark, I'm sorry. And last but not least, let's throw in these little music notes. I'm not a musician, so I don't know really what each one is or if these even are real. So if you are and I screwed them up, I apologize. I don't know what I'm doing. All right, so there we go. A design from start to finish on how to draw a cartoon body. All right, guys, that's it for today's video. As always, thank you for watching. If you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe to the channel, like the video, and hit the bell for notifications so you can get alerted when I post new videos. Like I've said before numerous times, we've got the Keep Creating a Learn, Draw, Share art community over on Facebook. The link is in the description. Make sure you head on over there. Post your art. We want to see what you guys are doing. As for me, I can be found online, bjdell.com, as well as on Instagram and Twitter @bjdell. So until next time, keep creating.